Hey everybody, before I get started, I just want to mention a couple of ways that you can engage with me on a more personal level. I have a few avenues set up and I keep focusing on one, and I figured why don't I make a short little video talking about all of them real quick before we get into these episodes. So first thing, Patreon. There's a link in the episode description, in every episode description to the Patreon, as well as a video on the feed called Major Announcement that has all the details of what each tier offers and how much they cost. I implore you to check that out. I offer a lot of cool shit for my patrons. Second thing, the Discord channel. There's also a Discord link in the episode description and in every episode description. I have multiple channels set up there for each show that I'm covering, and it's a great way to just engage with me. I have a channel set up for MMA talk as well. I'm a big MMA fan, so if you're an MMA fan, you can check that out as well. There's a link to the Discord in the episode description. And then lastly, the Facebook and Twitter. Social media. Follow me on there. I post news on there. When I say news, I mean like, hey, I'm stopping covering this show. Hey, I'm starting covering this show. Let me know what you think about this. I do live watches of things on Facebook where like I'll check in and say I'm watching so-and-so show, and then I'll like live comment while I'm watching it, and that'll be cool if maybe you watch that show too and you want to watch along with me, or you're watching it later and you will see my thoughts, which are usually pretty entertaining because I'm usually pretty high when I'm writing them. So check out all those links in each episode description, and let's talk about this episode. Peace.
One mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about Season 3, Episode 6 of FX and Hulu's Reservation Dogs, entitled Frankfurter Sandwiches. Before I get started, I wanted to obviously, point out the obvious. I'm a little bit farther back from the camera. I just decided to change up the visuals a little bit. Let me know what you guys think. Does it matter? Does it not matter? Who gives a shit? But I backed up just a little bit. It might make things not tricky, but a little bit more difficult just as I'm like maneuvering through my notes because I have to reach a little bit farther for the mouse, whereas like when I'm sitting closer, it's a lot easier. But I don't know. I figured I'd just try something different just to switch things up. So the episode title here is based on the phrase / jingle we hear Bucky sing in the flashback episode from last week and again in present day this week. I looked this song up, and there's actually a Frankfurter Sandwiches song that I found dating back as far as 1927. Then it's remade, I guess, in the 60s in the UK. Like it was something like Best of the Brits in the 60s, some shit like that. Don't bother listening to it. It's terrible. I think it's just a situation where Bucky got like a shitty song stuck in his head that he just couldn't get out. So now he says it anytime he's thinking of hot dogs, which is what Frankfurter sandwiches are, which I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I did not know what the fuck that was last week. I'm like, what the fuck is a Frankfurter? Like I imagined like sliced hot dogs put between like two slices of bread with who the fuck knows drizzled across the top of it. But no, it's just a I don't say fancy name for hot dogs if there is such a thing, but it's another name for hot dogs. And so Bucky brings these on their camping trip in case they don't catch fish. There's a camping trip between him, Brownie, Big, and of course they take Cheese. Now, on the surface, this is a move that Irene makes to get Cheese out of the house since he's avoiding his friends. We don't know why at the time. We can presume, but we don't know anything definitively yet. But when you dig just a smidge, I think it's really about Native men and maybe really just men in general being raised to repress their emotions and just how healthy and beneficial it can be to bond and really open up and share how you really feel with whoever might be important to you, your family, your friends, hell, a therapist, therapists are popping in 2023. I've been to a therapist many times myself over the last 3 years or so, and I found it to be very beneficial at times. And, I think it's healthy, especially the Black community, for us to get out of that stigma of acting like we're too fucking hardcore as shit for mental health, like, and just, being at peace, man. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but just being older, man, you just really appreciate the things that make you happy a lot more, and you just don't want to be at odds with life and shit all the fucking time. And I think it's good to share and have these moments where you just open up with how you feel about how you actually feel. And we know that that's something. It's present in men in general. It's super present in the Black community, and apparently it's super fucking present in the Native community as well. So the elders bring Cheese out. I'm just gonna call them the elders. I don't really have a name for them. I don't want to say all three of their names every time I refer to them. So I'm calling them the elders. The elders bring Cheese out in hopes of helping him heal. They want to make him into a man. But they end up having breakthroughs themselves that, like I said last week, wouldn't have had any emotional resonance if it weren't for the setup episodes that we've gotten leading up to this point in the previous 2 weeks or so. It seems pretty clear, I think, that the show is setting up an eventual reunion between, the elders plus Irene with Maximus. You know, these episodes and moments that may not feel terribly compelling while we're watching them are, I think, what will bring weight to the final episodes of not just this season, but of the series. If I wanted to force myself, though, to be critical of the season, I'm not going to say I'm forcing myself, but it's something that I'm willing to overlook, but that if others present it as an issue, I'll be like, okay, that's valid. I will say the season does feel a bit disjointed. Like, it started off waving away the whole stranded in California situation, which I thought was going to be a much meatier part of this season, and it was just waved away like the first 5 minutes. They set up some pretty compelling stuff with Bear and Allura, but then they went away from that altogether to give us 3 straight episodes that felt more like bonus content, like bonus episodes that weren't necessarily part of a season-long story that'll be a fitting end for these characters. It was just like, hey, we got a couple episodes we made. They were like kind of like cool one-offs. Like if FX is like, hey, we want 2 more episodes, like bet. we got the Irene the flashback episode. We got the Cheese episode. You know, that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to, because I liked all of these episodes. I'm not trying to diminish them in any kind of way, but I don't know. I felt like they set up something in the first 3 or so. And now I feel like they've gone somewhere entirely different in the next 3. Not entirely different, but they've kind of gone away from that. And it just makes me wonder what's going to happen in these final 4. And with these 4 left of the entire series, there is still a lot to resolve. We have to resolve the situations with both Bear and Allura's fathers. Not only do I think we need to reconnect Maximo with his friends, Maximus, right? I called him Maximo. Maximus with his friends, but I think we're also going to need to tie Maximus in with Bear, given their proclivity for seeing aliens/spirits/star people, whatever you want to call them. And then, of course, what's going to happen with with our res dogs? Will they stay together in O'Kern? Will, every time I say O'Kern, I think like O'Cardi B or some shit, like O'Kern. Will Bear and Allura leave? Like, what's going to happen with Cheese and Willie Jack? And I think these 3 episodes will likely aid, these 3 as in this one and the previous 2, will likely aid in resolving all these plot lines and have likely set up some pretty big emotional breakthroughs, I think, in these final episodes. But it doesn't make them feel any less engaging in the moment when you're watching them from week to week. So, people are saying like, these episodes kind of feel like they don't have a place or like they don't belong. I'm not gonna say you're wrong to anybody who says that they don't like something. Well, I will, but like you're watching TV incorrectly. But I wouldn't disagree. It's just something that doesn't really bother me that much, but I see it. I do still enjoy every episode of this show just because I love the characters. I love spending time with them 25, 30 minutes every week. But yeah, I'll admit the middle portion of this season is dragged in a way that I think the previous 2 didn't. I'm willing to admit that. But let's get into what happened this week. So I feel like now that I'm sitting farther away, I'm going to move my chair a lot more. I normally have like my arm sitting on this table that's holding up my camera. Well, that makes me sound broke as fuck. There's a tripod that's on on the table that's holding up my camera. And normally I have my arms on the table. Now I'm farther away. I'm like, I'm going to be doing way more shit with my hands. I'm going to be moving the car. I'm fidgety. Chair. I'm fidgety, you guys. Sorry. So let's get into what happened this week. Like I said at the top, Cheese avoiding his friends in favor of fighting VR zombies and not bathing. Irene calls her friends, a call that makes a lot more sense given last week's episode, to come get Cheese out of the house. So Brownie, Bucky, and Big, they all arrive to go take him camping. And we learned some interesting things about the friends while they camp. For instance, Bucky, he doesn't use a traditional rod and bait. He grinds up something called drunk root into a powder. And then when he puts this powder into the water, it makes the fish get drunk. And they just float to the top for him to grab. And even though Big makes fun of him, this works, which is why they actually get to have fish with hot sauce rather than Frankfurter sandwiches. So Cheese doesn't like fishing. He thinks it's boring. But before he ruins the moment by farting, I fucking hate fart jokes, you guys. I'm so sorry. Brownie tells him it's not about like the literal experience of like trying to catch fish. It's about appreciating the world around you and being a part of it and being one with it. It's about bonding in nature. And I thought this was a nice message to just appreciate the ground and the air and everything that's around you. So yeah, fuck you for ruining with a fucking fart joke. The fucking the fucking greatest thing for the remedial minded. Like I can't stand a fucking fart joke. Like it feels like it's aimed at no one older than 4. Like if you're over 4, you should be laughing at fart jokes. Sorry. I'm sure that probably offended like a great many of you, but hey, unless you're new to this channel, you know I don't give a fuck. So I hate fart jokes, remedial fucking comedy. Like you're a hack fucking writer. I hate fucking fart jokes. Anyway, Big tells Cheese of a time when he ran into 4 big feet. Bigfoots while he was alone in the woods looking at porn. Well, I don't know. I would call Playboy porn. But he was looking at Playboy. That's another thing, actually, I'd like to have resolved before the show ends. Throughout the show, Big has been shown to be kind of like more in touch with like the supernatural. I'd like to know why, or at least see how that's going to tie in with everything else. I hope it does. But Bucky asks Cheese what his deal is, and Cheese basically brings up the age gap between him and his friends again. You remember he brought this up on the bus with Willie Jack on the way back from California in episode 1. He basically believes that eventually they'll grow apart, so he thinks he's probably subconsciously pushing them away ahead of time. Think of like, you can't fire me, I quit. Think of that. That's what Cheese believes that he's doing. Bucky, the string theory physicist, says that since they're all connected, the quantum thread can't be disentangled, and the soul contract can't be untethered. And that is SOUL, soul. I watch with the captions on. So not SOLE. The soul contract can't be untethered. But basically what that means is he needs to stay good with his friends. Cheese then passes around the talking stick like he learned in the group home episode from last season. I think that was episode 7. So we got season 2, episode 7, Cheese teaches people a lesson. Season 3, episode 6, Cheese teaches people a lesson. And this is when we learn a lot about all the pain that the elders have been carrying. Big blames himself for the death of Alora's mom, and they've touched on this a lot throughout the course of the series. He says he's bottled up a lot of pain and was taught not to recognize those feelings. He says the guilt's been eating him up. But as he breaks down, he adds that he's learned that we all make mistakes and that he's come to accept that that's okay. And I can't imagine living with that kind of guilt, and I hope I never have to. That fucking sucks, man. Brownie takes the stick again, and because initially he just took it and said he was a sex addict, he was happy to be there, but he takes it again, and he talks about Maximus. And he says he thinks Maximus didn't know that he could rely on them, and that Maximus had nobody to turn to. Bucky then takes the stick, and he tells Cheese that he reminds them of Maximus. Maximus needed them, and they turned their back on him, and then all the men kind of cry in a way that I think at some point it starts to like gently rap on the door of being funny. But I don't know if it fully went there, if they were fully trying to go there, but they're all of them sobbing collectively. It tapped. It tapped. After once again helping people come to realizations about themselves, Cheese realizes that Irene and his friends, they do have his back, which is what's going to make him different from Maximus. And he recommits to his friends, inviting them to come watch the sunset with him and the guys. And, I think this episode really was just kind of a quick resolution to Cheese's personal issues surrounding his placement within the group before the show gets to resolving, I think, some of the bigger storylines, like what I mentioned earlier, Bears, Alora's, the Elders, etc. And yes, like I said, I could definitely see the fandom growing a bit restless with these largely uneventful episodes in the middle of the season, but I do truly believe that we'll come to appreciate these episodes a lot more once the season and the show is complete. So I just want to close out with one quick thought, not too much else to discuss with this episode. Can I just say that Big has been funny as fuck to me this season for some reason? Like, I don't know if he's consistently been this season. I did a rewatch with my wife. She hadn't seen it. I watched the first 2 seasons again. I just don't feel like Big was as funny in the first 2 as he has been this season. To the point where he barely has to do anything, and I laugh. Like him struggling with the tent poles was funny to me. And then when he's telling the story about seeing the big feet, and Cheese asked if they were hairy, but says because he's imagining the fucking Playboy, he's like, yeah, but I liked it that way because it's organic. I fucking love Big this season, man. But also real quick before we close out, there is a credit scene that plays maybe like 15 seconds into the credits. It's not important, but just so you know, there is one. So that's all I got for this week. I will see you guys next week with episode 7, and until then, peace.